Hello, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for your support and subscribing. I hope that the information that I've been bringing to you all, I'm hoping that, with some of my knowledge that I have learned in my experience in the past few years, that I wish that I would have known a little bit sooner, that this all could have helped me. And this is exactly why I wanted to start sharing my own experiences and actually being vulnerable and open up to you all so that you can see that there is no shame in being who you are and sometimes being okay with being vulnerable at times. This is why I actually went into being a certified life coach, because I just had so much experience that I wanted so bad to share with many of you. And now that we have the technology, I decided that it was time for me to share. I have gotten some questions recently about my own personality. I think I had mentioned on a previous podcast, and that my actual personality that I actually had after being tested was what we call a fearful attachment style. And this is also called a disorganized style. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm disorganized in my whole life, but I'm actually a fearful avoidant attachment style within relationships when it comes to either partners or when I'm trying to develop friends or even within my own family members. This is really a personality or attachment style that's really rare, but it's actually was developed in early childhood. And this style has really influenced, my healthy way that I'm supposed to communicate with others, my emotions, my needs, and the way that I actually respond to conflict. And my expectations of relationships are not the way they're supposed to be. Now, when I took this personality test, my therapist at the time gave me almost about a year worth of working with him, with my traits that I had created, within time. And what I learned is that this style is a behavior of both high levels of anxiety and avoidance within relationships that I have. It's interesting that what I learned during therapy is that I do crave intimacy and I do crave that connection with people. But once I start to get really close to someone, then unconsciously I start to pull away. And it's interesting that looking back and now, actually, I still tend to do this and I'm still working on this till this day, even being conscious about it. I will tend to befriend someone or I will get close to someone, then for some reason I feel that need to push back so I don't get hurt. And I tell you, it's something that's so unconscious, it's just built in me. But the thing now is that I'm noticing what I'm actually doing. And I can see how much, I feel bad because I must have frustrated so many past relationships that I have, being husbands or being in relationships and in friendships all the way up till now. Honestly thinking how annoying I must have been, giving all this love and I give all this attention, and then all of a sudden I push back and I change. And I can only imagine how frustrating it must have been for them, not knowing what the heck is going on, or what I'm doing. It must have looked like if I was using people, which was not my intention at all. And I can see now how much people I probably hurt, back in the day, maybe all the way up till now, that I don't even realize that I'm doing to people. But in reality, I was just trying to actually protect myself. It had nothing to do personally with that person. It was just my own inner insecurity where I was trying to protect myself. And it's interesting that some of the traits that come with a fearful avoidant is the fact that we have different we have fears that we don't feel safe. And I I'm not gonna, go back and tell you that I'm blaming, because they say it tends to be in childhood, and I'm not gonna go back and blame, my parents or anything, because they did the best that they could do, and we didn't have this type of knowledge back in the day to learn. Now we do. Now it's our responsibility to educate ourselves on how we can help our own children or even help ourselves to become a better person. But I remember not ever feeling safe. You know that after all these years, the only time that I actually felt safe in a relationship was my last relationship with my husband. It did take about 2 years for me to actually totally trust him with my vulnerability and my insecurities, and to really trust him. I always felt like something was going to go wrong, or something was happening, or something was wrong. I think the only reason why that I felt safe with him was because of the fact that he himself was so vulnerable and open. And when I started to see that type of personality in him, and he was trusting me with that, I felt, you know what, why can't I trust him with mine? It was a rough 2 years in the beginning, but he never gave up on me, never ever gave up on me. And I think that that was the one thing that made me realize that I wanted to change, to become a better person, and learning my attachment styles. And that was one of the things. So, just having that sense of not feeling safe, not even with my family, which sounds really, really strange. They're very, very protective. I didn't feel safe till maybe recently that I felt like they actually had my back, which is interesting because I know I can call him for anything, but yet that attachment style just gets in the way. Like, it's not pride, it's not embarrassment, it's just feeling like, can I really trust you? Can I really have that safety measure with you? Another trait that I had was I had very poor self-regulation of my emotions. I overreacted with things. I know that I had mentioned in another podcast, if I was trying to call you and it went to voicemail, that would have been me thinking right away you didn't want to talk to me, you didn't want to be my friend. And I just overly used my emotions, which kind of interacts with my bipolar disorder, because my therapist tells me that he really thinks that my attachment style is really the major conflict here, that he feels that I don't really have full-blown bipolar, but that was what I was diagnosed with, at a younger age. Now I'm so getting better in regulating my emotions. Oh my goodness. I think if you guys heard my podcast, episode number 4, part 2, where I do a lot of mindfulness, and I really try to think outside the box instead of trying to get into my own emotions and being selfish and thinking of my own emotions. I always think about what's going on with the other person. Another trait that I have, and I'm still working on it, is trusting others. It's so hard to trust others. Something as simple as if I ask for a favor, it's very hard for me to ask for favors because I feel like I'm going to be let down. And I don't want to be let down. And all of that has to do with my childhood, that I think that maybe as a child I was thinking that I was let down a lot. I couldn't trust people, so I kind of learned to just kind of deal things with my own and not trust others fully. Another trait that I noticed is that I was always looking out for signs of danger. I was always thinking negative. I was always thinking like, oh, this is too good to be true. Like, no, they want to be my friend. I'm not too sure about that. They want something from me. That actually is something that I still work with today. I think doing my job and helping others has really helped me understand that it's okay to be helping others, that danger is not going to come back to me. And that's something I really had to learn, slowly but surely. Another trait that I had is it was very hard for me to self-soothe. Self-soothing meaning that I had to really, instead of relying on others to make me feel better, I had to learn that I needed to help myself, soothe myself, tell myself that I'm going to be okay. And I feel that that is probably the reason why, after therapy, why I got married, at a young age, and then why I married my second husband, because I think I was trying to find this soothing through them, which I shouldn't have. I should have tried to find the self-soothing through me. because it never works when you try to depend on somebody else to kind of like soothe your own issues. It's not going to work. You got to soothe yourself. um, Another trait that I know I have, and I still have to this day, is fidgety behavior. I have learned, I used to be really fidgety in the top part of my body, but now I'm actually just fidgety in the bottom part. I actually, if people who know me, I move my legs a lot, and that is actually my anxiety part of me. I do have high levels of anxiety. You wouldn't be able to tell. The only way you're going to tell now is because now I'm being vulnerable with you and I'm letting you know, is when something makes me uncomfortable or I'm thinking about something a lot, I start fidgeting and I start moving my legs a lot. And that's because all of that anxiety energy, I have learned to throw it down to the bottom to my legs, and then actually all that energy comes out through my legs. That has helped me a lot, so that I'm not, when I have to do presentations or I have to talk with people, I'm not fidgety now, towards the stomach up. I'm more fidgety towards, down. But that is something that I learned to do. That did not come overnight as well. Another trait that I had is I didn't have any personal boundaries. I let people do whatever they wanted. That needed to stop. I now know that boundaries are very important, and now I will let you know what's acceptable and what's not, as far as when it comes to me and being friends with me or being in a relationship with me. I now have boundaries, and those are so important. A lot of people don't have boundaries. You have to have boundaries in order to tell people what you're going to accept and what you're not going to accept. That doesn't make you a bully. That doesn't make you in a sense like you're having an attitude. No, you need those personal boundaries. Another trait that I had is that I could find friends like crazy. That was not a problem. It was just keeping them. Because once again, I still, can you tell I'm all stuttering? I still have this tendency of trusting people. I don't know if I could trust them or not. It's very hard to. I am now, trusting you all with these emotions and these vulnerabilities that I'm sharing with you now. But as far as like a one-on-one, it's very hard. Even with family members, like cousins and uncles and that, I'm not very close to them, but it's because of this attachment style that I have that really has hindered me to where I'm at. But I am happy to say that I am breaking that wall, because I'm very excited. I will be meeting with cousins that I haven't seen for a very, very long time. So I'm really excited that I'm working on that moving forward. Also, another trait that I think is very, very, I used to do a lot, is I would disassociate or cut off my emotions completely. So I wasn't going to show you that I was hurt. I wasn't going to tell you I was hurt. I wasn't going to show you, I didn't feel, basically, is that I would just put those emotions down. Literally, I felt I was putting those emotions down to my stomach, and I would just disassociate those emotions. It started happening more after my first marriage, when I was just really, really heartbroken. And I just started to learn that that's what I did in order to survive. Then what happened is I started to regain, the way that I tried to regain myself again was trying to be controlling and trying to be bossy. And it's interesting because I learned now that that's not gonna work, guys. At the end of the day, we really don't have control of anybody. The only thing we have control of is actually how we're going to react to the situation. And that's when I learned, when I actually learned that I can't control anyone. I can't control the situation. Just basically just how I'm going to react to it. That's it. And once I was okay with accepting that, it became a little easier to work with my fearful avoidant attachment style, because I didn't have to feel like I had to regain that in order to feel like I was someone again. They do say that this fearful attachment style comes from abuse and trauma in the past. And yes, I did experience some abuse and trauma. Unfortunately, with family members and neighbors. There has been some sexual abuse there that went on with me, and some trauma, that trauma could be from, if you're a child and you have a divorce, that could be a trauma. A trauma could be where maybe your parents are not getting along when they're young, and you can feel their emotional anxiety. That could be a trauma. A trauma could be, let's say a parent is ignoring you, that could be a trauma. So all of these kind of things that surround us when we're young is what I've learned can cause any time of attachment style, which this is with my therapist and everything I've learned. This is where I learned this attachment style. It was a response to this abuse that I kind of deactivated myself. And I needed to learn to reassure myself because I was too frightened to trust anyone. Not even like, those that cared for me. I couldn't trust them. Which made sense now because I think I was 12 years old, and then my sister was born, feeling that, how can I say, that insecurity when she was born. And it kind of made sense now that why my personality actually grew more when my little sister was born, because I felt that she had all of the secure parenting that I didn't have, which was kind of foolish to think, because like I said, our parents get better with time. So another thing about the fearful avoidance is that a lot of times that when we become this type of parent, I tried actually to not push that upon my own children, because it's an attachment style that can cause a lot of issues with, like I said, your significant other or with a family or friend. I don't want to be that person that is trying to control you because I want to feel secure about myself. I don't want to be that person that doesn't trust people. I want to be able to trust people, and little by little I'm doing that. I'm actually learning to self-soothe myself and try to be safe within myself. I am working on those close relationships. I really still am working on those. I've actually learned to have a positive view about myself. Before, I used to have a very negative view about myself. But with therapy, I've learned to see the good in me, that I'm not perfect. And the best thing I can do is try to help myself and try to help others if I can. I've also learned that it's okay to be disappointed or let down by others, that doesn't necessarily mean that I've done something wrong. So I've learned, that to, focus on the good rather than the bad. I feel now that I don't have to so much protect myself against rejection. I've learned that rejection is not something personal against me. Rejection is just sometimes, you just don't clash with that person, whether it's somebody that you're interested in or a friend. It's not something personal. Sometimes if they reject you, sometimes it's okay to move on. I don't take that personal anymore. I also try not to have that passive and cold personality to try and shield myself. I've learned to kind of stop that, as well as people pleasing. Oh my goodness, I would people please all the time, and that really has stopped. If I don't want to do something, I'm not going to do it anymore. I've actually taken control of that, because I was finding that I was doing things that I didn't want to do, and that was really going to become dangerous for me, because then that was going to be a trigger for me. Now my anxiety levels are really not that high. I do take medication for my anxiety level, and I've learned to most importantly to self-soothe myself again. I think that's the number one thing that I've seen, that a lot of people that go from relationship to relationship, I often wonder if they have this type of personality, because we tend to get into relationships really quick because we're looking for that self-soothing. That's like a coping mechanism, and sometimes they just need to learn how to do it on their own, so they're not going from relationship to relationship, or even from friendship to friendship, believe it or not. Well, I just wanted you guys to become aware, a little self-awareness for you all, that this is, what I am. I am a fearful avoidant. Yes, I still do get triggered. I'm working on it daily. But if you guys are looking for someone, or even to do this test, let me know. I can give you the test for free. I can explain to you in a consultation what kind of attachment style you are. That way it can help you in your own personal relationships with your own significant other, or even with family members. Once you start learning who you are and being okay with who you are, and being okay with the negative part of who you are, really opens up a lot of opportunities to really open yourself up and really be happy. I hope that you like this podcast. Give me a thumbs up if you have, or if you learned anything, please go ahead and give anything on the comments. I would really appreciate it. My website is up and running, www.deep-within.com. Yay, I got it right. Until next time.